This video takes a detailed look at the incredible women's 800-meter race at the Athletics World Cup in London, where tactics and raw speed collided in a thrilling final lap. Raven Rogers, Adele Tracy, and Samoya Campbell turned the race into an unforgettable showdown that stayed undecided until the final meters. We will examine how the early pace shaped the race, why Tracy's move with 200 meters to go nearly secured victory, and how Rogers produced one of the strongest finishes of the competition. From race strategy to closing speed and mental composure, every detail mattered. If you love elite middle-distance racing and dramatic championship moments, this analysis breaks down everything that made this race special.
USA, second at the US Championships, 158.57, a lifetime best this season. Anna Sabat of Poland, Polish indoor champion last year and this year. In personal best form, 2:01.9 this season. Samoya Campbell of Jamaica. She's lining up in this event after scratching from the 1500 meters yesterday. Boufariden of France starts in lane number 2, 2:02.55. That's what she's done this season, the French athlete. The women's 800 meters. That's Adele Tracy. She was one of the secret 7 young athletes who lit the 2012 Olympic cauldron here. That was 6 years ago. Now, she's one of the best that we have in Britain. So on paper, Raven Rogers of the USA, 5th at the World Indoor Championships in Birmingham a few months ago. Has increased her speed over 400 meters this year to just over 52 seconds, Rogers. So she's the quickest on paper, but down the back straight for the first time. Keep an eye on Britain's Adele Tracy. A good run by Lindsay Sharp in Rabat a couple of days ago. That 3rd place up for grabs to potentially join Laura Muir and Shalana Oshgan-Clark, but it's the French athlete who's happy to take this one up, followed by Tracy of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Yes, Boufariden keeping it really reasonably honest, and Adele Tracy, who is knocking on the door of breaking 2 minutes, staying very close to her, running a smart race here. To be fair, though, Raven Rogers almost 2 seconds better than anybody else this year. The American there in 3rd place, looking very cool. The gap, though, to the leading pair is about 4 or 5 meters at the bell, and they come through. And that's a solid 400-meter time, Catherine, 59.79.
Well, it is. We've got a breakaway at the moment. Rogers will be keeping track behind Herring, the German, in 3rd. The American's got a bit of work to do. But down the back straight, it's France against Great Britain and Northern Ireland. She looks like she's smiling, Adele Tracy, but she's putting some work in here. Raven Rogers now trying to make a move. The Britain goes into the lead with 200 meters to go. Britain, France, United States of America and Jamaica. The crowd rise to their feet and rise the volume for their British athlete. But here comes Raven Rogers, the American. The Jamaicans following her. Tracy into the home straight. But here comes the fastest in the field, Raven Rogers. On her way to 8 points for the American team. A fast finish from the German, Herring in 4th. The Britain will hold on for 2nd. But America take the win, 2:02. A 59.7 lap. A 60-second lap at the end. And another American victory here. And just outside the magical 2-minute barrier for the American.
Well, she just oozed confidence, didn't she, Raven Rogers? Through that first lap, didn't mind being 5, 6, 7 meters down at the bell. The 400-meter time was pretty quick by Boufariden of France, who ended up in 6th place in 2:06. It was maybe a little bit optimistic for an athlete with a best of outside 2:02. Raven Rogers there, producing the goods for the USA, who just go on and on, racking up the points. Adele Tracy, I thought she might be under real threat there coming down the home straight, but Samoya Campbell had hit the blocks too, and they were both flat out through the last 50 or 60 meters. So good points for Britain.
Yeah, you see on the replay, Tracy did nothing wrong for Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Just shy of her lifetime best, coming in 2nd at 2:01.05. But Raven Rogers, 21 years old, 5 times the US collegiate champion, represented the University of Oregon, an Oregon Duck, They're very excited about her in America, and I can understand why. A controlled win and a good win again for America.
Yeah, really good leg speed from Raven Rogers. Don't forget she's run 158.5 this year. She is in the world top 10 for 2018 and frankly totally controlled that race. But Adele Tracy giving everything, gritting throughout that last 200, and that was a sterling effort.
The women's 800 meters at the Athletics World Cup in London became a perfect example of how elite middle-distance racing is often decided not by raw speed alone, but by patience, positioning, and the ability to respond under pressure in the final moments of a race. On paper, the field looked balanced, with several athletes capable of producing a sub-2-minute performance. But once the gun fired, the race quickly evolved into a tactical battle between the United States, Great Britain, and Jamaica. Every movement through the pack mattered. Every change of rhythm forced decisions. And the final 150 meters completely transformed the outcome. From the beginning, all eyes were on Raven Rogers. Even at only 21 years old, she already carried the profile of a future global contender. Her season best of 1:58.57 confirmed not only her endurance, but also the massive improvement in her pure speed. That development was critical because modern championship-style 800-meter racing increasingly rewards athletes who can combine aerobic strength with the acceleration of a long sprinter. Rogers entered the race knowing that if the pace stayed controlled through the first lap, her closing speed would become the deciding weapon. Unlike many younger athletes who panic when boxed in or separated from the leaders early, Rogers looked completely relaxed during the opening stages. She avoided unnecessary contact, stayed efficient around the bends, and refused to waste energy fighting for the front before the race truly began. That composure immediately separated her from much of the field. While others were reacting emotionally to shifts in tempo, Rogers was clearly running according to a calculated plan. For Adele Tracy, the race carried a different type of pressure. Competing in front of a home crowd in London created both opportunity and expectation. Tracy had been steadily improving throughout the season and was approaching the important psychological barrier of 2 minutes. More importantly, she needed a performance that proved she could compete with world-level athletes in tactical races, not just paced time trials. From the opening 200 meters, Tracy positioned herself aggressively near the front, showing confidence and a willingness to take responsibility for the race. Samoya Campbell entered with less attention than Rogers or Tracy, but her reputation inside the sport was well established. Campbell was known for intelligent race management and her ability to remain physically composed, while others tightened under pressure. Rather than chasing the lead too early, she stayed connected to the main group and waited for the race to naturally stretch apart before committing energy. The first lap unfolded at a strong but controlled pace. France briefly dictated the tempo, ensuring the race remained honest without becoming reckless. Through 400 meters, the field was still compact, which increased the tactical complexity dramatically. Nobody wanted to move too early and expose themselves to a late counterattack. Yet, waiting too long risked being trapped behind fading runners entering the final bend. When the bell rang at 59.79 seconds, the race entered an entirely different phase. That split was fast enough to create fatigue, but still slow enough for several athletes to believe victory remained possible. At that exact moment, Rogers appeared slightly vulnerable because she sat several meters behind the leaders. From the stands, it looked as though Tracy had gained the perfect tactical position, while Rogers might have left herself too much work over the final lap. What followed down the back straight changed the entire race dynamic. Tracy attacked decisively with approximately 200 meters remaining. It was not a hesitant move designed merely to test the field. It was a full commitment for victory. Her acceleration immediately forced separation, and the London crowd reacted instantly. For several seconds, Tracy looked in complete control. Her posture remained stable, her knee lift stayed aggressive, and she opened a visible gap on the chasing athletes. Campbell reacted quickly behind her, attempting to maintain contact while preparing for a final sprint of her own. Rogers, however, still remained patient. That was perhaps the most impressive aspect of her race. Many athletes panic when a rival launches such a powerful move entering the final bend. Rogers did the opposite. She trusted her rhythm, trusted her conditioning, and waited until the exact moment her superior speed could produce maximum effect. With roughly 120 meters remaining, Rogers unleashed the decisive surge. The transition was immediate and brutal. Her stride frequency increased noticeably, but more importantly, her mechanics stayed smooth under fatigue. There was no visible tightening in the shoulders, no wasted upper body movement, and no signs of desperation. Instead, she accelerated with the efficiency of an athlete completely in control of her body at maximum effort. Tracy fought courageously to resist the challenge. In many races, her move would have been enough to secure victory. But Rogers' closing speed was operating on another level. Meter by meter, the American erased the gap before finally moving ahead in the closing straight. The final result, 2:20 for Rogers, 2:01.05 for Tracy, and 2:01.59 for Campbell, only partially reflected how dramatic the finish truly was. The final lap, covered in approximately 60 seconds, demonstrated why Rogers was already becoming one of the most dangerous championship racers in the world. She combined tactical patience with elite sprint mechanics and perfect timing. At no point did she waste emotional energy reacting to the crowd, the pace, or the positioning battles around her. She simply executed her strategy with precision. For Great Britain, Tracy's performance still represented a major success despite missing victory. She showed she could handle pressure, lead aggressively, and sustain a world-class pace deep into the final straight. Campbell's race also reinforced Jamaica's growing depth in middle-distance running, proving once again that tactical awareness and resilience remain essential qualities at the international level. Ultimately, this race was decided by one critical factor: timing. Not the fastest opening lap, not the boldest early move, but the ability to deliver maximum speed at the precise moment the race demanded it. In a stadium filled with tension and noise, Raven Rogers understood exactly when to strike, and that decision transformed a competitive final into a statement victory.